Good afternoon, teachers. Welcome to Shikshana Sambrama's November module for English language. I'm Angelina and with me is Deepika. We are from the English team. We will be taking you through the activities curated for you for the month of November. We as English teachers are focused on one main goal when we are in our classrooms. That is, to create an English environment for our learners. This module will help us achieve the same with emphasis on collaboration. Here are the objectives that have been identified for this module. Understand the ease and effectiveness of teaching English experientially in the classrooms. Teaching experientially is a reality. It can be used to understand concepts explored in the class effectively. Access the meticulously curated resources to help them implement experiential language teaching. In order to assist us, these modules give us resources that have been created specially for teachers of second language English. Using these resources, let's discuss the strategies and techniques to facilitate language skills such as listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Thinking ability, a very important aspect, will also be explored. This will help all teachers cover the DSERT learning outcomes for grades 4, 5, 6, and 7. We are also continuing to address the learning outcome of improving reading comprehension that helps learners achieve the skills to perform better in the PARAKH exams. Outcomes of learning cycle. Enhance our subject matter expertise and pedagogical understanding of teaching English experientially. Use experiential resources to teach English in our classrooms. Implement experiential language teaching strategies. Modify existing experiential resources and create customized experiential resources for contextual teaching needs. Just like the previous months, we will explore an ETL element this month too. This month's ETL element of Module 4 is collaboration. Collaborating involves learning between learners when they work together. For example, a group discussion or a peer review. For grades 4 and 5, we have chapters A Chat with a Grasshopper, The Fly, Wonder Bowl, and Abu Ben Adam, and PBLs for the chapter Art, exploring identification of color, and chapter Paper Boats, exploring the concept of personification. We explore topics from these chapters that we are teaching in our classrooms of grades 6 and 7. My Hobby, Good Hobbies, In the Fields, Shabale, The Cow, and Dignity of Labor. The PBLs are based on the chapter Way to Succeed, exploring the concept idioms, and the chapter Journey to the Top, exploring the concept questions.
The learning outcomes for grade 4 are enact different roles in short skits, response to simple instructions and announcements in English made in class or school. We will be having a classroom transaction activity 1. Activity 1 is based on the learning objective. Prepare animal masks with paper. Roleplay has animals and discuss animal sounds or language. On Teachopia, when you click on the concept map, you will see the chapter Farming displayed. The chapter is further divided into the components Art and Language. The category Art explores animal mask making, and the category Language explores rhyming words and the use of a and an. You may tell the learners, let us make animal masks today. Take a sheet of chart paper. Draw the outline of a face and cut it out. Then fill in the features of any animal the learner chooses. You may then ask the learner to paint or color the animal mask. The learner may choose to make a mask of an animal of their choice. Following these simple steps will get your class ready for the fun-filled activity. Let the learners keep the masks on when participating in the rest of the activity. Tell them we will role play as these animals. Let the learners share their views on the animals whose masks they have created. In order to introduce the element of collaboration in your activity, invite the other learners to ask questions too. You may encourage questions like, why did you choose that specific animal to make your mask? Can you share some information about your animal? Now that we have become those animals, let us also talk in their language. Conclude the activity by asking reflective questions. Do you think the animals just make noises that make no sense? Do you think the animals talk? What do you imagine they talk about? Do you know the different names for different animal sounds? This will ensure that the objectives of the activity are realized. Namely, establishing the sounds of various animals and empathizing with communication between animals, as in we can understand and share the feelings expressed in animal communication.
Classroom Transaction Activity 2. The learning outcomes for the month for grade 4 are: reads printed script on the classroom walls, notice board, in posters and in advertisements. Solves simple crossword puzzles, builds word chains, etc. Responds to simple instructions and announcements in English made in the class or school. The central topic of this concept note is profession. This has the aspects of language and art and craft. Language is made up of vocabulary on professions and dialogues related to professions. Art and craft involves making items and fancy dresses using newspaper. The objective of this activity is to identify professions through dialogues. Let's start. Please read the dialogue between the two people. Ask learners to guess the profession of the second person based on the dialogue.
What's the scheduled time of arrival?
Arrival is scheduled at 6:30 p.m. and it leaves the station at 6:45 p.m. The answer is station master.
Can you tell me the platform number on which I can find buses for Mangalore?
It's platform number 1. The answer is depot supervisor.
Where should I present this withdrawal slip?
Please present it in counter number 2. The answer is banker.
I want GRB ghee.
How much? The answer is shopkeeper.
How much does a meter of the synthetic cloth cost?
160 per meter. The answer is shopkeeper.
Would you like to try too? Please answer the poll question sent to your phone. Since how many days are you suffering from cold?
For the past 2 days. The options are A. Potter, B. Electrician, C. Doctor, and D. Dentist. The answer is doctor. Classroom transaction activity 3. This activity is designed for grade 5. Some learning outcomes it addresses are answers coherently in written or oral form to questions in English based on day-to-day life experiences and unfamiliar stories. Connects ideas that he or she has inferred through reading and interaction with her personal experiences. Thinks critically, compares and contrasts characters, events, ideas, themes, and relates them to life. This is a screenshot of the lesson plan for Dignity of Labor, a chapter from grade 5. It addresses the learning objectives, understand and enact the different activities, and analyze the situation and deduce the solution. The focus of learning being on multiple intelligences. Linguistic intelligence. This refers to the ability to use language effectively, both spoken and written. People with this intelligence are often good at reading, writing, storytelling, and memorizing information. Intrapersonal intelligence. This is the ability to understand oneself, including one's own emotions, motivations, strengths, and weaknesses. People with this intelligence are often introspective and self aware. Interpersonal intelligence. This is the ability to understand and interact with others effectively. People with this intelligence are often good at social skills, empathy, and building relationships. Kinesthetic intelligence is the ability to use one's body effectively, including physical coordination, dexterity, and athleticism. People with this intelligence are often good at sports, dance, and other physical activities. Let's take a look at Activity 1, Pick and Act. It addresses the learning objective, identify and enact different activities, tasks, or work. The materials required are chits and a bowl. Before your class, you will need to create chits that contain names of different tasks or work like cooking, plowing, driving, etc. Start the session by asking the learners, shall we all play a game today? Who wants to be the first one to play the game? Select one learner who wants to be the first one to play. Ask the learner to take one chit from the bowl. Now tell the rest of the learners. He will enact clues to help the other learners guess the profession written on the chit. Whoever guesses the action will get 1 point. Each one will have 2 minutes within which they can enact the profession and the others will guess. Allow all the learners to enact. After all the learners finish their enacting, ask the learners to recall the work that they have enacted. Summarize by putting down all the names of the professions on the board. This activity encourages collaboration as it requires the learners to engage with one another during the activity. The learners get to share their ideas and build on the understanding of their peers.
Classroom transaction activity 4. The learning outcomes are based upon grade 6 and the learning outcomes are as follows. Participates in activities in English like role play, group discussion, debate, etc. Writes words, phrases, simple sentences, and short paragraphs as dictated by the teacher. Participates in activities in English like role play, group discussion, debate, etc. Here's a chapter called A Chat with a Grasshopper. Its learning objective is identify insects based on their features and discuss them. Learning objectives are specific, measurable statements that define what students are expected to learn or be able to do at the end of a lesson, unit, or course. They serve as clear goals that guide both the teacher's instructions and the student's learning. This lesson plan focuses on the language competencies of listening, comprehension, speaking, and writing. The activity Who Am I requires that you make chits with names of insects on it. You may use cockroach, honeybees, butterfly, housefly, red ants, black ants, firefly, and grasshopper. One learner picks up a chit. The learner gives the other learners clues about the insect and they need to guess the name of the insect. You may help the learners frame their own sentences and hints by prompting. Their, their peers need to guess what's in their chit. The game creates an atmosphere of ideas being exchanged in the target language English. Where do you see the element of collaboration in this activity? This lesson plan uses language learning approaches like communicative language teaching and task-based learning. Communicative language teaching is a learner-centered approach that prioritizes real-world language uses. It emphasizes authentic materials and cooperative activities. By focusing on fluency and communication, communicative language teaching aims to develop learners' ability to use the language effectively in real life situations. Task based learning is similar to communicative language teaching. It also focuses on using language to complete meaningful tasks. Instead of grammar drills and vocabulary lists, task based learning emphasizes real world communication. This approach helps learners develop practical language skills and confidence in using the language in real life situations as well. Keeping in mind the need to improve listening comprehension, you may read the story Why Can't We Glow Like Fireflies by Pratham Books to the learners. The book Why Can't We Glow Like Fireflies is about how some animals can make their own light. It talks about fireflies, which are tiny bugs that glow in the dark. They do this with a special chemical reaction in their bodies. The book also explains how other animals use light, like to find food, scare enemies, or find friends. It's a fun book about the amazing ways animals use light. Share this story with your learners. Enhance the storytelling experience by sharing the captivating visuals in the book. Why can't we glow like fireflies? Fireflies are small winged insects that glow in the dark. But why do they shine and what creates the spark within them? They are bright and twinkling like little stars. I wish I could have glowed like them, but I can't. Can anyone tell me why? Imagine a dark, moonless night when you have gone camping with your classmates and you lose your way. What would you do? Will you not try contacting your friends by flashing your torchlight? Well, fireflies or lightning bugs, as they are sometimes called, do the same, except that they have an unlimited supply of light within themselves. That is why fireflies never worry about fused light bulbs or electricity tariffs. They seem immensely happy just flying around and glowing. This is their signal to say, "Hey, look, I'm here." The glow of the firefly is produced by a protein called luciferase and a pigment called luciferin. Proteins are special food used by our bodies to create muscles, bones, and skin, while pigments are natural coloring substances found in plants and animals. When these two meet inside the tiny belly of the firefly, they react with the oxygen already found in there. A celebration takes place, a soft firework display. So to say, the bright light is produced, which is the glow of the firefly. Fireflies, therefore, are bioluminescent, but they are not the only ones. Different types of fish and marine creatures in the sea also produce their own lights. The glow of the firefly functions like a light switch and is periodically turned on and off by the insect. It does this by sending a special message from its brain to the light organ inside its body, that is, its abdomen, and soon the chemical reaction begins and the glow is produced. The grown up fireflies use their glow to call out to their mates. In fact, female fireflies prefer flashy males that can blink the longest or at a faster pace. Once they see this special glow, the females respond to it by switching on their own lights. The fireflies' mates soon meet and baby fireflies get created. The younger fireflies or the larvae, unlike their parents, use their glow mainly to chase predators away. The chemicals within their bodies are toxic and have a horrible taste, so creatures that come to feast on them get put off and go hunting elsewhere for tastier munchies. Fireflies are never actually alone. There are more than 2,000 species of fireflies on this earth. During springtime, especially on dark nights, you may spot a few of them flitting around brightly. Fireflies may be tiny, smaller than your fingers, perhaps, but grouped together, these glowing insects can light up an entire garden and all for free. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? You can further extend this activity by getting the learners to answer a few reflective questions based on insects. Encourage a discussion about the book after reading it, asking questions like, why did this happen? Why do the larvae do that? What do you think? Is this interesting? Do you like it? This would be a collaborative activity as the entire class can exchange their thoughts and ideas.
Classroom Transaction Activity 5. These are the learning outcomes for grade 7. They involve identifying various elements in textual and non-textual material, then relating them to life, and expressing their thoughts orally or in written form. This concept note shows the poem divided into language and concepts. While language explores Old English vocabulary, values can be decided by you. Share this image with the learners and instruct them to write 5 sentences about what they think is happening. Ask them to reflect on the image. Help them by asking questions like, what do you see? How do you know that? What are your thoughts on that? Is it good or bad? Why do you think so? As the learners observe this picture and share their thoughts, you can take the activity further. You may distribute the same picture to all learners. Now, pull out different interpretations of a single image and say, look at this image. Some of you have defined it as, another group has described it as. Can you see that all of us have different thoughts about the same picture? Why do you think it is so? Let's try another image. We recommend that children be allowed to think freely, refrain from instructing them about what is right and what is wrong. Let's be open and accept all their thoughts. This will help build their observation skills and inference skills. You may design this as a collaborative activity by getting the children to share their thoughts and opinions in a group. This also is a poll question. Would you encourage the learner to think independently without dictating what is right or wrong? You choose the answer yes or no. Here are a few reflective questions based on the poem Abu Ben Adam. Encourage the learners to share their opinions about them. Reflective questions are, do you think you might be in the good books of God? What do you think are the requirements to be identified as a good person in God's eyes? Do you think you have them all? Do you think everyone else around you has them? What do you suggest we do to gain those qualities in us? If you are God, who are the ones that you would pick as your favorite person? Justify your pick with reasons. Idea 2. The next idea is to share this situation with your learners and ask them to share their answers. Ask the learners to use their imagination and answer the question on the screen. You may use different characters to make the activity interesting. Some examples are farmer, teacher, father, your best friend, and your pet. Here are a few PBLs you can share with your learners. PBL for grade 4 is based on a unique painting for the concept identification of colors. The learning objectives are identify colors by their names, identify objects by their colors, and identify color combinations. The learning outcomes are response to simple instructions or announcements in English made in class. The leading question is, can we change the color yellow to orange by adding another color to it? It starts off with the activity 1, which involves coloring an image. The second activity also involves coloring. However, here it asks you to identify a particular color. Now, this is a collaborative activity where we produce a new color. So you can get learners to work in pairs and mix two colors and come up with a new color. They have been instructed as to what colors they can use. This is followed by a reading comprehension passage and questions that are based on the reading comprehension passage. The next collaborative activity is questions and thoughts. So this talks about a person's thoughts and a question based on that. For example, I wonder what the color of a rock is. I think the color of a rock is grey. This follows the practice sheets, which has 10 questions, and then the OMR sheet, which helps the learner practice for competitive exams. PBL for grade 5 on chapter Paper Boats, exploring the concept personification. Learning objectives are: use simple sentences to share imaginary stories, discuss imagination and communication, and build imaginary characters and stories using paper items and everyday objects. The learning outcomes: writes and speaks on imagination, communication, etc., suggesting personal views. Answers coherently in written or oral form to questions in English based on day-to-day experiences, unfamiliar story, poem heard or read. Uses meaningful grammatically correct sentences to describe and narrate incidents and for framing questions. Reads text with comprehension, locates details and sequence of events. Connects ideas that he or she has inferred through reading and interaction with his or her personal experiences. Writes paragraphs in English from verbal visual clues with appropriate punctuation marks and linkers. Uses a mini biography and mini autobiography. Attempts to write creatively. It starts with a leading question: can we find a person in everything around us? The activity starts with asking the learner to match the object with the characteristic that is listed. There are no right or wrong answers. A collaborative activity based on the swing and the slide can be used as a role play. Here, there's a conversation between the swing and the slide and even the seesaw, and we bring these park games to life by using personification. Another collaborative activity in this PBL is creating a mask of a non-living object and adding human characteristics to it. They can share this idea with their class. Another collaborative activity is to create a story with peers or narrate the story to the peers. It has the beginning, middle, and the end. It's followed by the practice sheets, which is followed by the OMR sheet. Project-based learning activities for grade 6 on the chapter The Way to Succeed, exploring the concept idioms. Learning objectives are: translate the figurative meaning of some idioms, research idioms used in many languages, read and answer questions about a story that uses idioms, and write a story using idioms. The learning outcomes mapping are: recites and shares poems, songs, jokes, riddles, tongue twisters, etc. Responds to oral messages, telephonic communication in English, and communicates them in English or home language. Responds to a variety of questions on familiar and unfamiliar texts verbally and in writing. uses meaningful sentences to describe or narrate factual or imaginary situations in speech and writing. Writes coherently with focus on appropriate beginning, middle, and end in English or in Braille. The leading question is: my grandmother has a green thumb, which means that she is very good in gardening and taking care of plants. Do you know of any other phrase that describes a situation in an imaginative way? The PBL asks the learners to guess the meaning of the idioms by providing them clues using a picture. This can be a collaborative activity, as you can do it as a group discussion, where the children can actually talk about the picture and see what it means to each of them and arrive at an answer. Feeling under the weather, reaching the top, getting tongue-tied, finding a rotten apple, a drop in the ocean. The next activity, we make them use the language in a more colorful way, and that is why we use idioms. Let's see how we use them. These are a few idioms and their meanings. I'm feeling under the weather means I am feeling very sick. He was tongue-tied when the teacher asked him a difficult question, meaning he was unable to speak when the teacher asked him a difficult question. There is so much homework today. Doing one page of homework is a drop in the ocean. There is so much homework today. Doing one page of homework is a small part of everything left to do. Another collaborative activity, you can do a group discussion with the learners. Here, they will be identifying idioms in any language of their choice and then try and translate it or give the meaning of that idiom. Followed by the reading comprehension passage. Questions that are based on the comprehension passage. A collaborative activity called Write a Story. So the learners would have learned many idioms so far. We encourage them to use them in a story and write at least 3 idioms that they have learned. They can share the story with each other, thus making it a collaborative activity. PBL, as a PBL goes, is followed by a practice sheet and an OMR sheet at the end of the practice sheet. This PBL is based on the chapter Journey to the Top from grade 7. The concept that it will be exploring are questions. Learning objectives for this PBL are: identify the correct WH question based on the context and understand the usage of WH question words. The learning outcomes: reads to seek information from the given text, refers to dictionary to check the meaning of words, reads text with comprehension, locates details and sequence of events, conducts short interviews of people around, example, interviewing grandparents, teachers, school librarian, garden, etc. The PBL starts by checking with the learner if they are familiar with WH questions, and asking the question, do you like asking questions? Do you like answering questions? As it moves forward, it tests them on their knowledge of WH questions that are what, where, when, and why. They are expected to circle the words according to the instructions given. The next activity is a collaborative activity. It's a role play, which is an interview between Mr. Ravi and Miss Rosie. In this conversation, we have colored some words. If you observe clearly, you will notice that these words are answers to the WH questions or the WH questions themselves. So this is something that you can have a discussion with the learners after they have gone through the role play. Section C gets the learners to apply their knowledge about the WH questions with their definition. So this is a match the following where the WH questions are on the left side and the explanation of the WH question is on the right, and they need to be matched. Some reflective questions included are: how do you think we can use these WH question words? Do you think we can use these WH question words to interview someone? How will you do it? What kind of questions will you ask? Then it goes into introducing yes or no questions, close-ended questions, and open-ended questions. Using examples for the three different types of questions, it aims at explaining it further. The PBL then moves on to reading comprehension, which is an interesting story about Raju and Meera. There are a few questions that you need to think about after the story. Some are like, do you notice all the different kinds of questions in the story? The questions asked follow the comprehension passage, have the yes or no questions, close-ended questions, and open-ended question formats. The next collaborative activity is a role play, which is titled Let's Create Questions. So what the learner is expected to do is conduct an interview. They need to find a family friend or a member of the family and ask them 5 questions and make them talk about using plastic items at home and if it is useful or not. The following is the format that can be used when the person is interviewing his family member or friend. Going forward, use this knowledge of the different kinds of questions and ask questions to your friends, family members, or your teachers using the different types of questions. Practice sheets follow the PBLs, which are 10 questions based on the same concept of questions and answers. The practice sheet can be marked on an OMR sheet, which helps the child practice for any competitive exams that he might or she might come across. Hope you enjoy exploring the PBL on answers and questions. This resource is an ETL teacher tool. It is used to reflect on the activities you have conducted in your classroom. It helps you document your understanding of collaboration, identify and incorporate more elements of collaboration in your activities. It also provides a space to create an activity that emphasizes the element of collaboration. Some of the questions are: What is my understanding of the language learning phase collaboration? Second, identify the places in the activities where we can find the elements of collaboration. Third, how can I incorporate more elements of collaboration in my activities? Four, select a grammar concept or value like bravery or respect towards family or nature, or select any learning outcome related to the monthly requirement and create a small activity to emphasize the element of collaboration. Use Teachopia to explore the various resources available to help your classroom be a better English speaking environment. This is a screenshot of the document that will be shared with you. We hope it will guide you to create an engaging experience for your learners. With this thought, today's classroom practices impact tomorrow's learning outcomes. We conclude this session. Thank you for participating.